welcome to Charity Champions, the podcast celebrating the people driving real change across the not-for-profit world. I'm your host, Emily Formby from Charity Recruit. Today, I'm joined by Kate Darby, the founder and CEO of Dementia Disco, a joyful grassroots movement that began with a deeply personal story and has grown into what's to become, hopefully, a national charity bringing music, movement and connection to people living with dementia. In this episode, we'll explore how Kate turned grief into purpose, scaled a volunteer-led idea into a national registered charity, and is now building a future where every town in the UK could have its own dementia disco. We're also going to talk about leading with heart and grit, building partnerships, and the power of community when you're building something from scratch. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Kate. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Emily. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure. What I always say in the podcast at this stage is I always have a prep call, as you know, with the guests, and I get to hear all about your amazing story, and I feel like I know you so well already. So I'd love you to bring that story to life a little bit for our listeners, really. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us how Dementia Disco came to be and that personal story that started it all.
So the reason Dementia Disco came about is because my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when he was just 66 years old. And he was just so much younger than all the people we were coming across in other wonderful dementia support groups. We were really trying to find somewhere we could take Dad so that my mum, who was his main carer, could have a break. And what we found was everything was through the week, Monday to Friday. It was within working hours. So my brother and I couldn't take him anywhere. When we did have an opportunity to take him, the support groups were lovely, but they catered for older people. You know, they were playing songs for a much older generation. They were playing dominoes and, you know, they were in church halls, and none of these things resonated with my dad. You know, he grew up in the 60s and 70s. He liked going to gigs. He loved Bruce Springsteen, Dire Straits, and that was my dad. And there was just nothing for him at the time.
What a shame that you were in. I mean, you know, you've got all that support. You hear about other dementia charities that offer such great support, but what a shame at that moment that there was nothing that you could get involved with him and your dad, and also to give your mum that break. That's really important, isn't it? To give the carers that break. So what did you do? How did that pan out?
So my brother and I were talking and trying to come up with things that we thought he would like to do. We'd been watching the Dementia Choir, BBC Dementia Choir with Vicky McClure, getting very inspired by the power of music and community. And we thought, well, if they can do it, why don't we come up with something? And we thought about what our dad would like and maybe other people around his age and what they would like. And we thought, well, music's got to be at the heart of it. He loved being in the kitchen. He used to cook all the time and he would have his music on really loud and we'd all go in and we'd be singing along. And we thought, can we try and recreate that kind of family music space? So we came up with the idea of Dementia Disco. The name came pretty quickly, actually. And we're so glad now because it's so impactful as a name, but it really just came out of thin air. And we thought, let's do something at the weekends. In the early evening, let's create a night out in a safe space. And it's not about dementia, it's just about getting those families together and getting that person back to the person they know. Because we'd already seen the power of music with my dad. You know, he'd be largely non-verbal. You stick a song on, Fleetwood Mac, Dire Straits, and he would start singing. And because he'd started to sing, he would start talking, and it was just incredible. So this is what we wanted to recreate, but we wanted to do it at the weekend when we weren't working and our kids could come along too. So it was a sort of multi-generational thing.
Of course. And so how did you go about setting that up? Because, I mean, where do you start? Where do you find the premises? How do you get the word out there? What was the protocol?
So my brother was a teacher at the time, and he went into school the following day and told his colleague Philippa about it. Now, Phil's grandma also had dementia, and she used to sit and play piano with her grandma, so she understood the power of music, and she was so excited by the idea. She said, "I want to do it too."
Amazing.
So there were the three original founders, myself, Nick, and Phil. And she had a contact at our local conservative club in Heaton Mersey. And just by coincidence, the warden there, her dad had dementia. So she was immediately wanted to get involved as well.
Yeah,
She
I
said,
bet.
"You can have this room. I will make you a hot pot."
Oh,
So we suddenly had a venue. We had free food, tea and coffee, and we just needed to find the people. So we got a date booked in, and which was all the way back in July 2019. We started promoting it on social media. We printed flyers. We went to all the local dementia support groups. We went to the local press, anywhere we could think of, to promote the disco. And the first one came along, and we honestly thought it would just be our family and Phil on the dance floor. But in fact, 40 people turned up. We couldn't believe
really?
it. Yeah,
Wow,
they brought family with them. They requested songs. They started dancing. We
that's
didn't know that
amazing.
any of these things were going to happen. And people had a great time. And we thought, oh, maybe we're onto something. Because it was all guesswork in the beginning. We guessed, would 5 to 7 be a good time? Would
Right.
including a meal be the right thing? Is it the right venue? So I think a lot of it to start with was luck. We just found a great venue, and the food was amazing, and so we carried on. And we carried on once a month at that venue, all the way through to lockdown,
Right.
which kind of threatened to close us down. And so we decided to take as many as we could onto Zoom,
Oh,
which was
amazing.
which was a challenge because you're talking about an older generation that had never heard of video calls. I mean, it was a learning point for us all. I'd not really done many video calls by this point, and then all of a sudden everything was on Zoom. So we got them onto Zoom, and we were doing our discos in our lounges and our dining rooms, and we kept going, and we kept ourselves together. And we actually had fortnightly discos
Oh,
because people were
really?
really worried about COVID. A lot of them were vulnerable and had to shelter. Uh, we used the time to try and understand Boris's nightly messages, which was very confusing. But it kept us together so that when lockdown lifted, we got straight back out again into the Heaton Mersey venue. It took a while to get the numbers back up because people were still really scared to mingle. But we got there, and it got really busy, and it hit capacity, and we thought, right, let's open a second one.
Oh,
So
wow.
we opened our second disco in Cheadle Hulme, which is another part of Stockport, and we got that one up to capacity. Very similar vibes. Saturday, 5 till 7, provided a free meal. We always have fundraising raffles to keep it going. And that one hit capacity. And it was kind of during this time we'd been an unincorporated association, and I was
Right.
running it voluntarily while my son was preschool. So he went to school in September 2024. So it got to the point where I was like, oh, I need to get a job. So, and I absolutely loved what I was doing, and I could really see its potential for growth. We already had 2 venues, and we just thought if we can replicate it once, we can keep replicating it. And we just loved the idea of everyone being able to access one of these evenings. So we managed to secure funding so that I could actually work for the charity, well, for the organisation at the time. And one of the first things I did, we became a registered charity. And then I set about on our mission to expand.
Right.
And we opened a third disco in Poynton in Cheshire in April last year. And that one has really taken off. We
Oh,
had
really?
it's the biggest sized room that we've got, so that helps. But we'd hit about 85 people at that disco, And it came to the Christmas party, and 104 people were in the room for that Christmas party, and it was just amazing.
That is amazing.
And again, fab venue, we provide a free meal, same format again. So we were just rolling this out. So we're now at 3. But what's really, really exciting is we've got these 2 pilots at the moment where they are properly remote discos from me. There's one in Wimbledon that is about to start on the 25th of January, which is so exciting. So it's our first London disco.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm chatting to a lady in Northumberland, so the other end of the country.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to start one there in March. So already we are starting this kind of scaling up process. And to formalise it, we've been writing a Run Your Own Disco pack. So you as a volunteer who either wants to volunteer at a disco or wants to run a disco finds us on the website, and they can follow this process all the way through to the back end of our CRM system. And it basically creates a pipeline of discos. And we will support them at various stages, help them find a venue, for example, or help them through the training and the policies that they need to read. All the stuff that they need to do to run a disco, we will support them to get there. So this is what we're working on at the moment. And we managed to get funding to do all the software development that we needed, because we want to make it as automated as possible, because it's still just me.
Yeah.
So, already I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with the number. It's wonderful, but the number of volunteer applications that are coming in, it's absolutely incredible. So, and as well as those pilot discos, we've got a couple in Trafford in Manchester that are imminent. So, and this all goes hand in hand. We were very fortunate to have Andy Burnham come to our Heaton Mersey disco in November.
Oh, really?
He was just brilliant. Oh. He came along. His dad's actually got Alzheimer's and is in a home. He's very poorly at the moment. And Andy was so lovely. We talked a lot about our dads, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I'd known about this sooner. I could have brought my dad. I think he would have loved it." And he spoke to people. He spoke to our volunteers, our disco goers. He gave a speech. I didn't ask him to. It was brilliant.
That's so nice.
And I think the best thing about it is he got up and danced. Like one of our disco goers was teaching him some line dancing moves.
That's brilliant.
He is very supportive about getting these right across Greater Manchester. So the fact that we're already starting in Trafford, I think quite quickly, hopefully we'll get a few more, because it's a big old place. So there's plenty of, communities that might want one of these discos.
What an amazing journey you've had. That's such an incredible story. You must all be very proud, the 3 of you from the start, obviously. You mentioned, getting that funding, that piece of funding initially. Where did that come from? How did you go about sourcing those finances?
So it was quite challenging, actually, to get that first piece of funding that was really going to change what we were doing. And I'd sort of applied for national lottery funding and various other big, well-known funders. However, it was through our infrastructure support organisation in Stockport. They'd let me know about an organisation called The Four. And The Four do things quite differently. So they do provide grant funding, but they very much support grassroots initiatives that are ready for the next level. And the idea is that funding is going to launch them into the next stage of their growth, which was exactly the point that we were at. So I applied, and it was a brilliant process. Normally, there's lots of form filling, and it's very laborious, and you don't speak to a person till way down the process. This was so refreshing. It was like, right, 3 pages of A4. We need you to cover these points, but basically you can present it any way you like. Well, I thought this is so unusual for an application process. So that was the first stage. And then the second stage, you actually get put in touch with an applicant consultant them, and they help you take that 3 pages down to a single page, and they present that at a panel.
Right.
And they decide whether to give you the funding. So we were very fortunate to get that funding. And ever since, people keep telling me, oh, it's very hard to get funding with the 4. I'm like, really? I found the process absolutely incredible compared to what I'd experienced in the past. So that was fantastic. And it's not just the funding that they provide. There's lots of wraparound support as well. I've had lots of free training sessions. Their network's incredible. They've just put me in touch with someone who is going to be able to support us with our scaling up project. So,
perfect.
They really do look after you. And for years beyond that grant has been spent, they're still there. And they provide networking dinners. Yeah, really great.
That's brilliant. And how did you come about that those as an organisation? Were they recommended to you, or?
Yeah, so Sector 3, who I briefly mentioned earlier, so they support local charities in the Stockport area, and they've been so helpful to me because it can be quite lonely being, the only employee.
Yes.
And the way I feel about them, it's almost like they're my team. They're my remote team, because they, you can lean on them, you can ask them for support, they help you find volunteers, they provide lots of training sessions and networking opportunities. And it was Sector 3 that recommended the 4, and I'm so glad, because I hadn't come across them in my searches for possible funders. So it's with huge thanks to them that we're here now, and they continue to be incredibly supportive of us.
What a great network you've surrounded yourself with there. They sound like an invaluable part of your growth story to date.
Yeah,
and I think it just goes to show, doesn't it, putting yourself out there and attending these volunteer events and networking events are really important, because you don't know who you're going to come across, do you? And obviously that's worked really well from your side. So just picking up on that sort of registering as formally as a charity, where did you get the information from that? How did you go about that process?
I think the 3 of us, the 3 founders, we really sort of sat down together and decided, what do we want to be? What do we want to achieve? And it can be it's quite confusing, actually, because there's lots of different types of organisation, and we thought we wanted to be a charity, but of course you need to have a look into it and find out what's involved. And, it's quite a lengthy process to apply to be a charity. Then, of course, you have to do your annual returns. And so it was quite daunting in the beginning, but it was absolutely the right decision. We went down that route. We are an incorporated, a CIO.
Right, yes.
A charitable incorporated organisation. There you go.
Yeah.
And that is still the right fit for us. And I think it depends in what direction you go. It could be that down the line we become something else. But for now, absolutely, that is the right structure for our organisation.
Yeah. So it's all been, but the way that you portray it's all been, really positive, but I'm sure there must have been some hiccups along the way and moments where you've questioned what you're doing. Talk us through how you've got over those hurdles and what those hurdles have been.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I've never had any experience in the charity sector before. My background was telecoms.
Right.
I'd risen through the ranks of customer service, client management, customer service, and then managing teams. And then ultimately in that career, I became the head of the complaints and the disputes department. So it couldn't be further away from what I do now. But what that career did is it gave me an incredible head for business and process and budgeting and, IT skills. And so actually, even though you wouldn't immediately think the two would go hand in hand, it has really helped me structure this organization. And, I really want it to run like a business. It's not for profit, but I want it to be efficient, and I want it to use technology to, ensure everything works smoothly. And I see the benefits of technology. That's hugely important. We've just launched an online booking system that is going to be incredibly important from an impact reporting point of view, to capture that data, to know how many discos we're having, who's attending, who keeps coming back, how many volunteers have we got, what are their dietary requirements, all that really important information. Finally, whereas before we were just capturing it here and there, we were doing manual head counts. It was very difficult to manage. Whereas there's going to be a few teething problems, because we need to get everyone to create an account, which it will be a challenge in itself, especially with some older people who are a bit adverse to technology. But once it's done, booking on a disco is so easy. So that's going to be a real game changer. And also getting this funding for this sort of automated run your own disco process. Again, it's going to cut out so much of my time. Yes. Because we can build in so much of what I would say in a phone call or whatever, and help them get to the finishing line. So technology is very, very important. So I think that background, that corporate background, definitely set me up for it. And of course, then you add on the lived experience. My dad had dementia, so I was starting to understand that world. And then you come up with an idea for a community group, and you put all those pieces together and somehow manage to find our way through.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it's such a good example of those transferable skills that you've got from your days working in the corporate sector, to now using those in the charity not-for-profit sector with that sort of commercial and business mindset. It just goes to show, doesn't it, how transferable they are. So that's a great part of the story. And you're also really good at the branding side of things. I know your branding's so bold, it's completely different to any other sort of dementia charities. How has all that come about? Talk us through your branding side of things.
Well, so back in September 24, when I finally had some time to look at this, the branding was always something I was very interested in looking at, and not having had the experience to do that sort of thing. The FOR network really, really helped, actually, because a lady found me through my association with the FOR, and she'd gone through a lot of charity transformations, very, very small charities, helping them grow. And she had a lady she works with who's an amazing designer who creates websites. And the two of them together just made this most amazing team. And so one of them did the rebrand and created the website, which is it's been so transformational from where we were, because it's not just how it looks, it's how it makes us feel. And I think the process of going through that, and them asking us questions, what do you want to be? What is this? How does it make you feel? And what I think we've got as a result of doing that exercise, it's just pure joy. It looks fun. It's colourful. It's, it couldn't be further away from any other dementia charity or website I've ever seen. It's so bright and colourful. And I think they just absolutely nailed it. They listened to what we were saying and they created it. And it's so easy to use. It's so easy to create flyers and posters and to use it on social media. And we've managed to create the most amazing merchandise range using this branding. So that was absolutely amazing. And the other half of the team, she's very good on strategy, and she helped write our strategy for last year, which was really a huge period of growth, and it's helped us lead on to our strategy for this year. And what's really exciting is, having got the cloth workers grant, I've now brought them back in again, and they're the ones that are creating this process for us. So it's going to look beautiful again, because it's all going to be through the website. They're also creating an online shop with the branding, so it's all
really?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
That's exciting. So what's the Cloth Makers Grant? I'm not familiar with that.
So the Cloth Makers Grant, they're another grant-giving organisation, but they it's not necessarily, but a part of the grant is specifically for software. So they want charities to transform themselves using technology. So it couldn't be more perfect for what we wanted, because we are literally using technology to allow us to scale.
Yes.
So so the grant will cover like a consultant's time to do the work, for example, but it also will cover the costs of your if you need to upgrade your website, or you need things like Zapier integrations and perhaps newsletter software, whatever it is you need, you can package it all together in this grant, which is exactly what we've done. So they're fabulous as well for any other charity out there. And I'll just mention them because they're absolutely brilliant. The people that created our online booking system is a charity called the Scottish Tech Army, part of the Tech. I think they're part of the Tech for Good Alliance as well, kind of two organisations that have come together. And they will provide tech for free. So they've got these amazing developers and project managers that are giving their time, and they're creating technology for charities. And what's really lovely is they've created this booking system for us, but hopefully another charity that's looking for a booking system will be able to use that technology. So, that's been absolutely brilliant for us, because it would have cost thousands to get someone to make that.
Well, that's such a game changer, isn't it? Having that resource available, and the fact that other charities can potentially jump on the back of that as well is great, isn't it? Because you're not just helping your organisation, but others as well. So
exactly.
That's so good. So you talked about sort of going national and the running your own disco model. Talk us through how you envisage that working and where you're at with that.
So as of right now, we've got these two pilots, as I was saying before. So Wimbledon and then Northumberland, they are happening. And we're pretty confident we've got these Trafford ones that are coming up soon as well. I think the best way to scale is probably to pick a particular area first, rather than just going national straight away, which could be a bit overwhelming. So it makes perfect sense that is Greater Manchester, particularly now with sort of Andy Burnham's been along, and I think we'll get some support from him. Plus, we've already got these great contacts in Trafford. So as soon as the process is ready to go, and I mean it is, I'm thinking perhaps end of January, beginning of February, we might actually have this process. And, at that point, we'll be looking at how do we market this? How do we get this out there? What we've learned along the way is the quickest way to get these discos operational is either to go to the local council or go to your local or go to your NHS contacts, basically. Right. Because they're already enormous organisations with huge networks. And this is how Trafford's come about, really. My brother went to the UK Dementia Congress at the Bridgewater Hall back in November, and he found all these contacts and was talking about Dementia Disco. And of course, they're like, we want one in Trafford, and and North Yorkshire was another contact. So I think we're definitely learning that go to these organisations that already have probably volunteers ready to go. They already have lots of support groups, so there are your disco goers. They know about all the local funds, for example, so it all starts slotting into place very quickly. So I think the best way to do it really is pick an area, focus on that, really get to know all those relevant contacts in that area, because it tends to lead on to the next thing. So knowing these contacts led to the a particular venue we're now looking at, and a particular fund, and so on and so forth. And I think once we've, dominated Greater Manchester, then we will look beyond it. But while this is going on, if someone comes to us and they're ready to go, then we certainly wouldn't say, oh, we're only in Greater Manchester. We absolutely want more of these. So if we can support it, yes, we want to open more.
That's brilliant. And how did it come about, Wimbledon and the North East? Are they personal contacts that you've got there?
Oh, Wimbledon's such a great story. So one of our lovely volunteers up here, she'd volunteered at a few discos, and then her mum was visiting from London, and came to a disco, absolutely loved it. Went back home to London, started telling her friends. One of these people was this amazing person called Canute, a retired DJ.
Oh, wow.
Also a massive personality in the community. He was like, I want to run a dementia disco.
Amazing.
So he reached out to me. I loved him immediately. He and his wife are the lead volunteers.
Right.
He's got about 30 other volunteers currently going
Wow.
through our volunteer process. And what's really lovely is the volunteer that first introduced us through her mum, her sister is now going to be volunteering at the Wimbledon disco. So it feels like there's a lovely family connection there.
100%. That's completely full circle, isn't it? That's so nice. Yeah. And I suppose from... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say about Northumberland, that was totally different. She actually found us from our website, which is brilliant, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want. She used to run dementia holidays. So when she heard about Dementia Disco, she was like, oh, I would love to bring that to my community. So she reached out to me. So at the moment, we're very much responding to people coming to us. You know, we haven't promoted this idea yet. Not yet.
Not yet. I'm just thinking in my mind here, you're going to end up having to clone yourself, aren't you? Because there's going to be that much work that you need to do when the message gets out there even wider across the UK and you're dealing with all these queries. You're going to wish you had 4 or 5 extra Kates to...
yeah. Do you know how to clone humans? If you figured that out yet, let me know.
No, but I can find you some really good recruits.
Aha, love it. We will be in touch.
Excellent. So I know you mentioned when we spoke that sadly your dad passed away 3 years ago, and obviously he was at the very heart of starting all of this and setting the wheels in motion. What do you want his legacy to be? How are you sort of channeling that going forward?
I think because lots of people after he died were coming up to me saying we would totally understand if you wanted to stop this. And my brother and I were like, no way. We absolutely love doing it. Dad loved going. The people that come love it. You know, it's given us so much joy out of something that was so sad and so difficult. And what a lovely thing, what a lovely legacy for my dad. So I couldn't think of anything better. And I hope wherever he is, you know, he's thinking, wow, they really did something with it. So, and it was all because of him. So yeah, it's awesome.
It really is. It's so moving, and it's such a testament to turning loss into something joyful and life-giving, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Exactly,
so you should all, I'm sure your family are very, very proud. So looking sort of ahead and thinking about our listeners, as you know, we're our listeners generally are CEOs or founding CEOs. What's that one piece of advice you'd give to somebody either that's already in the sector feeling at a bit of a crossroads, or someone starting out in the charity not-for-profit sector? What's that lesson, that one bit of advice you would pass on?
Well, for me, I think it's different if you found something than if you are employed in something. Founding something, you know, you're already so passionate about it. It means everything to you. So you will put the hours in. You know, I am constantly working on this because it does bring me so much joy. So I think my advice is, because it's a difficult job, you know, and it can be a lonely job, especially with a really small charity. So whether you have come up with an idea and you're starting something from scratch, or you want to run something, just make sure you are really, really passionate about it. You know, have a personal connection to it. If you've got lived experience, that really helps. I just think, you know, you've got to understand what it is that you are doing for people and making sure that they're at the heart of everything you do. You know, you need to keep asking, do you like this? You know, you can make lots and lots of decisions about what you think people would like, but do they? You know, we've just surveyed all our disco goers actually, and the results are fantastic, really, really brilliant. And we're managing to get Manchester University to go through that data for us and to generate a report. But
brilliant.
it's very important to do that, and then to realize that you are having an impact, and that spurs you on to keep going. So yeah, make sure you are 100% committed to the cause.
Yes.
And ideally it means something to you. I think lots of people would like to do something that is doing something good, right, for people, but make sure it really is something you believe in and you want to help make better. So that would be
that's such sound advice, isn't it? And it's clear for everybody to hear how passionate you are about the community and what you're looking to achieve with Dementia Disco. I think that your energy and your honesty really shines through, and I'm really excited about the future for you. I think you've got lots and lots of really exciting ideas and a really bright future ahead, so fingers crossed everything works out the way that you're hoping.
Thank you, Emily. Yes, we're ready. We're ready
Good.
for the next stage.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As I say, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I, like I say, I watch your journey with real keen interest. If our listeners want to find out more about you, where can they go ahead and do that?
Yep, so probably the best place is our website, dementiadisco.org, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I'd be very happy to connect with you. And, I'm always happy to hear from fellow CEOs that are going through the same journey. I'm sure we can help each other out.
Excellent. Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Thank you so much, Kate. And we'll hopefully speak to you again.
Oh, lovely. Thanks so much, Emily.
Thank you.